Hey, it's Realtor Martez Sims here in El Paso. Thank you for being here with me. How much does it cost to buy a house? That's a question I'm frequently asked when I'm out with home buyers. And I'm going to answer that question for you right here in this video. So, how much money do you need to buy a house? First of all, I want you to know that the amount you pay to buy a house could vary based on your specific circumstances. But I'm going to use an example to paint a picture so you'll know what that might look like for someone. Cost number one, your down payment. So how much is your down payment? Well, that depends on the type of loan you choose and the amount that you're financing. For example, you could pay as little as 0% of the purchase price down if you're using a VA loan, up to 3.5% if you choose an FHA loan, or you could pay 5%, 10%, or 20% of the purchase price as a down payment. In my example, a young couple just got married. They're purchasing their home for the very first time, so they're first-time home buyers. They're going to use the FHA loan, which requires 3.5% of the purchase price as a down payment. So if they purchase a home for, let's say, $180,000, that's roughly the average price of a home here in El Paso right now. So if they purchase a home for $180,000, 3.5% of that is going to be $6,300, $6,300. That's going to be their down payment. Next, number two, we have closing costs. Closing costs will also vary slightly depending on the type of loan you choose and the lender that you choose to finance your home. And again, these are very rough estimates. In my example, closing costs are going to be $4,500. $4,500 for closing costs, which includes the appraisal, which is paid for by the buyer, but for the benefit of the lender. The lender wants to know that the home that they're financing, that they're paying for, is worth at least what they're paying for it. So $4,500 in closing costs, including the appraisal. That's expense number two. So expense number three, inspection. So how much is the inspection? Well, it depends. It depends on the company you choose to do the inspection and the size of the house. Inspections can range anywhere from $250 to $400. It just depends on those two factors. In my example, the inspection costs $350. So we have $6,300, we have $4,500, and we have $350. Those are your primary expenses when purchasing a home. Yes, there may be other expenses that you'll have to pay, but those are your primary expenses when purchasing a home. And remember, these are just examples. Your situation will be unique based on your specific circumstances. But that gives us a grand total of $11,150 that you have to pay to purchase a home. Now you might be saying, well, Martez, I purchased a home. It didn't cost me that much money. Or I just talked to my neighbor down the street and they said they didn't have to pay anything in closing costs. Well, I'm glad you asked. So let's look at the down payment. Remember, I said every circumstance is different. If you're using a VA loan, you will typically not have to pay any money down. If you're using an FHA loan, which typically requires 3.5% down, if you qualify for a grant or a bond or some other type of program that could defray that cost or get rid of it totally, you can reduce that cost, sometimes down to zero. That's the down payment. Next, let's look at closing costs. These are always negotiable. You may ask the seller to pay a percentage of the closing costs or all of the closing costs, reducing it down to $0 out of your pocket. Closing costs are always negotiable. So those are the costs involved in purchasing a home. You may be totally comfortable with these figures, or they may scare you a little. I'm going to ask you not to let these figures scare you. When I purchased my first home, I purchased it with no down payment and no closing costs. So these are just examples of what that could look like for you. I suggest you find a great lender, and I suggest you find a really good realtor that's going to negotiate on your behalf. Hey, that's it for now. I surely hope you found this tutorial very beneficial. If you have questions, you can post them below, and I'll do my very best to answer them for you. If you have comments, maybe you took advantage of a financial program to reduce some of these costs for yourself. I'd like to hear about that. Please leave comments below. Thank you so much. Bye for now.